الأرض رجا وبست الجبال بسا فكانت هباء منبثا وكنتم أزواجا ثلاثة فأصحاب الميمنة ما أصحاب الميمنة وأصحاب المشأمة ما أصحاب المشأمة والسابقون السابقون أولئك المقربون في جنات النعيم ثلة من الأولين وقليل من الآخرين على سرر موضونة متكئين عليها متقابلين يطوف عليهم ولدان مخلدون بأكواب وأباريق وكأس من معين لا يصدعون عنها ولا ينزفون وفاكهة مما يتخيرون ولحم طير مما يشتهون وحور عين كأمثال اللؤلؤ المكنون جزاء بما كانوا يعملون لا يسمعون فيها لغوا ولا تأثيما إلا قيلا سلاما سلاما وأصحاب اليمين ما أصحاب اليمين في سدر مخضود وطلح منضود وظل ممدود وماء مسكوب وفاكهة كثيرة لا مقطوعة ولا ممنوعة وفرش مرفوعة إنا أنشأناهن إنشاء فجعل
أفلح من صلى على محمد وآل محمد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين. Brothers and sisters, respected Shaykh Usama Abdulghani, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. And on behalf of the Light of Guidance, we welcome everybody and we extend our congratulations to all on the blessed occasion of the birth of Sahib al-Asr wa Zaman, Ajalallahu ta'ala farajuhu al-Sharif. Inshallah, to begin the program, we're going to welcome our brother Muhammad Umais to recite from the Holy Quran. If you can help me welcome him with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
ثانية على حب الزهراء. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والفجر وليال عشر والشفع والوتر والليل ذا يسر هل في ذلك قسم لذي حجر ألم تر كيف فعل ربك بعاد إرم ذات العماد التي لم يخلق مثلها في البلاد وثمود الذين جابوا الصخر بالواد وفرعون ذي الأوتاد الذين طغوا في البلاد فأكثروا فيها الفساد فصب عليهم ربك سوط عذاب إن ربك لبالمرصاد فأما الإنسان إذا ما ابتلاه ربه فأكرمه ونعمه فيقول ربي أكرمن وأما إذا ما ابتلاه فقدر عليه رزقه فيقول ربي أهانن كلا بل لا تكرمون اليتيم ولا تحاضون على طعام المسكين وتأكلون التراث أكلا لما وتحبون المال حبا جما كلا إذا دكت الأرض دكا دكا وجاء ربك والملك صفا صفا وجيء يومئذ بجهنم يومئذ يتذكر الإنسان وأنى له الذكرى يقول يا ليتني قدمت لحياتي فيومئذ لا يعذب عذابه أحد ولا يوثق وثاقه أحد يا أيتها النفس المطمئنة ارجعي إلى ربك راضية مرضية فادخلي في عبادي وادخلي جنتي صدق الله العلي العظيم.
أفلح من أعاد الصلاة على محمد وآل محمد. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Brothers and sisters and respected Shaykh Usama Abdulghani, once again, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. And once again, we offer our congratulations to everybody on this blessed occasion. And alhamdulillah, we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for granting us the tawfiq to be able to come together on this evening to commemorate together. Inshallah, before we welcome Shaykh Usama to the table, inshallah, for his lecture, just one very quick announcement. Inshallah, next week, Friday, so that's going to be March 17th, inshallah, we have a book launch for the book of Sister Maryam Sharara called The Echoes of Stones. And that's a book that highlights the importance of the Palestinian cause, and it's written primarily for children. Alhamdulillah, it's a very beautiful initiative, and next week we're going to come together here at the Hadi Institute. There's going to be a program, some speeches, inshallah, Shaykh will say some words as well. We'll have some refreshments and things downstairs, and then the book will be on display for sale. And in addition to all of that, there's going to be a Palestine exhibit where attendees can kind of walk around the gymnasium and see different banners that will highlight some very, very important facts regarding or relating to the Palestinian cause. Inshallah, it's going to be a very nice event, and it's something very, very important for the kids especially to be brought to. So we invite everybody to attend that, inshallah. Imam al-Jawad alayhi salam said, أفضل أعمال شيعتنا انتظار الفرج. And Imam al-Qa'id Sayyid Ali Khamenei mentioned that the most important issue, and he's mentioned multiple times, the most important issue of the entire Islamic Ummah is that of Palestine. And so what better way to prepare for the return of Sahib al-Asri wal Zaman than to promote the cause of the oppressed people of Palestine. Inshallah, with that, we'll welcome our dear and our respected Shaykh Usama Abdulghani with 3 loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allah.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ومولانا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى أهل بيت الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين لا سيما بقية الله في الأراضين روحي وأرواح العالمين له الفداء رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. So dear brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Allow me to be the first to congratulate each and every one of you on the birth of our beloved Imam. It is indeed tawfiq that Allah has granted us the opportunity to gather here and to remember him and to, inshallah, prepare for him as a group. Now, it's also been it's been a while since we've seen one another, so it's good to have everybody back. Alhamdulillah, we also have some new faces as well. Inshallah, we are, after the program, we're going to break bread together. So we'll pray, inshallah, in jama'ah. Then after that, we'll go down and we will have food together. So please, everybody, stay for that. And if you see a new face, then instead of going and sitting with your homies, inshallah, we can walk over, see one another, introduce ourselves, and welcome everybody to the program. Now, brothers and sisters, today I guess I will have some good news. I guess if Brother Hassan can, or Brother Hassan Athani can put up the time that I have to speak today. Today's talk is probably going to be very short. So that's good news. There's a time limit. I can't go past that time limit because after that we have to go and pray. Because it's so short, then we'd like to make it very practical. You see, brothers and sisters, we're waiting for a living imam. Because we're waiting for a living imam, you've noticed all around, meaning in our community locally and globally, you see believers, mu'mineen and mu'minat, making effort to commemorate this event. So you have people reciting poetry, which is great. You have people hosting mu'mineen and mu'minat, absolutely important. We'll have some people reciting Salam, Ya Mahdi. That's also, we have to have these kind of things. The question is this: what's the most important thing we need to do for the Imam to return? All of those are great, and we have to do those. But our question tonight to ask ourselves, and inshallah, the 3 points that we want to kind of focus on tonight will be with that outlook. What is it that the Imam needs from us? You see, they teach us this: true intidhar, or waiting for the Imam, means that you and I have to identify what are the traits that our Imam needs us to have. For instance, our Imam is going to establish justice. We have to be working towards that. our imam needs ikhlas. We have to be working on our ikhlas, right? We have to be working on the traits that our imam needs then, now. We have to create the grounds, be those people who are ready for the imam by having the traits that the imam wants then, now. Meaning we have to create the grounds. That's on us. Having said that, our question that we want to ask ourselves is, what is it that the imam really needs? What is it that even if we are reciting dua nutbah and we are crying our eyes out, we are offering food, gifts, these kind of things, but without this, the imam won't return. We're looking for that. So inshallah, we want to take 3 lessons, 3 reminders, of course, obviously, first for myself, but then for all of you, and then also to share with others, inshallah, in order to do our responsibility. So instead of us only looking to the imam today, last night, for dua for our needs, this time, what does he need from us? So brothers and sisters, we usually go over the ayat of the Quran together. I'm going to share one verse of the Quran about this perspective. What does God need? What does the imam need? And I'll ask brothers and sisters, as usual, to see if they can find this verse in the Quran or on your phones, and we'll read this verse together. Okay, so brothers and sisters, see if you can turn to Surah Baqarah, so Surah number 2. You can look on your phones. Surah number 2 and verse number 245. Let's see if I'm quoting this verse correctly. Remember the question though. The question is, what does God need from us? Or in our case, what does the imam need from us? So brothers and sisters, can you see if I've quoted this verse correctly? Does the verse 245 from Surah Baqarah, does it read this way? Man dhal ladhi. Do you guys have that? Man dhal ladhi. Okay. So sisters, anybody have that verse? Anybody have the verse? Man dhal. Okay. Okay. So let's read this verse together. We're looking at the Arabic, and then we'll read the translation together. God is asking, who is it? Man dhal ladhi yuqridu Allah qardan hasana. Who is it who will give God a goodly loan? Right? How can we help? Who will give God a loan? If we do that, فَيُضَاعِفَهُ لَهُ أَضْعَافًا كَثِيرًا. If you do that, then God will multiply what you do in His way multiple times. We're looking for the idea of what do I need to do for the imam? 3 lessons. The first lesson, well, I'm just going to kind of run over them and I'll see if I can cover all of them in 15 minutes and 45 seconds. Number 1 is connecting the dots. Why is it so necessary, if we're working for the dhuhur of the imam, to connect the dots and talk about current events? Number 1. Number 2, what is the prophetic approach to the clarification jihad? I've talked before about the idea of the clarification jihad, the idea that you and I, we have one responsibility to first learn Islam, to embrace Islam, to implement Islam, but then after that, we also have a responsibility to spread the teachings of Islam as is in smaller circles. So the prophetic approach of our prophet when it comes to the clarification jihad. Number 3, we're going to deconstruct one of the greatest obstacles to the return of the imam. For this one, I'm going to give the reference in the book so brothers and sisters can read ahead and find out what that greatest obstacle is, and then all of us collectively and individually will work on trying to deconstruct that biggest obstacle to one of the biggest obstacles to the return of the imam. So we'll start with the first one. The first one, brothers and sisters, is why is it so necessary when we have a religious gathering? We're here, we could just talk about the 12th imam. We could talk about when he was born. We could talk about who his mother was. We could talk about a lot of things. We wouldn't necessarily, we could have a session like this and not connect it to current events at all and go home and everybody would feel good. But what happened over here? We see that we talked about our book launch. We're having a book launch, brothers and sisters. The Echoes of Stones, we're preparing for that. Yes, Quds is a big thing. We have to prepare for Quds from now. We have to prepare our children for Quds. More than that, one other current event. Why is it that we would connect these events to the coming of the Imam? Isn't it okay? Let's just talk about the Imam and not bring anything current into it. Keep it clean. There's a brother, unfortunately, who was imprisoned. This brother's name is Ali Daniel Hamani. So some of you have heard about him, you've posted about him, you've shown your support. Briefly, the story, we're going to find out why it is to talk about current events. So this brother from the community in Dallas, perfect record, criminal, no, nothing. Routine traffic stop, and they pull him over and they put him in federal custody. And they deny him bail. So naturally people are curious, well, what did he do? Did he commit some sort of crime? They say, actually, because he has a clean record, that makes him more suspicious. He could be a sleeper cell. He could be a terrorist. He hasn't committed a crime yet. We have to deny him bail. Have you done anything? So, well, what was so again, the real issue, he has a brother who studies in Qom. Right? So I guess it's a crime to be an alim. Then also they said, well, his mother posted on Facebook about the sacrifice of Ibrahim and Ismail. Well, that's a terrorist if I ever saw one. Sometimes you really wonder what monkeys dream up this stuff. But anyhow, our job is, well, we're protesting, we're speaking out, and we're asking a question though. Some people would advise, brother, sister, why do you have to talk about Quds? Why connect the dots? Just talk about the 12th Imam, we go home. Why talk about those who are in prison unjustly? Why talk about Yemen? Why? This one we have to answer for ourselves. Part of the reason that people will tell us not to talk about these things is they say you've just got to be smart. Don't poke the bear. Just keep your nose clean. Don't talk about these kind of events. Quds, just keep your nose clean. Everybody knows our stance on Quds. Don't connect the dots. Don't speak up for the oppressed. Don't make it that the coming of the Imam means you have to teach your children about Quds. Don't do that. Why? Because it's smart. You got to be smart. The problem with that, brothers and sisters, this is the first lesson for today. Brothers and sisters, I'll be absolutely honest with you. There is a price for resistance. Resistance, not rolling over, because people advise you just roll over. Don't say anything. There is a price for resistance. But the price for surrender is a lot greater. So there's a price for surrender. There's also a price for resistance. But the price for surrender is a lot greater. And I want to give you some hadith about this. And then after that, some examples about this. And we'll move on to our next question. So we're answering, well, why is it that we have to mention that brother? Okay? Let's learn the principle now. This is from Imam Sadiq. So the Imam says this. Man mana'a haqqan lillah. Whoever prevents, stops a right that God has. Man mana'a haqqan lillah azza wa jal anfaqa fi batilin mithlay. This person will spend twice what they could have spent for haqq and batil. There's still a price, but it's more if you surrender. Hadith. Amirul Mu'mineen says, as-sakit. So they advise us, be silent. Don't connect the dots, right? Imam Ali says, as-sakit, the person who's silent, akhur radi. When I'm neutral, when I don't take a side, I actually am taking a side. And I'm taking the side of the zalim. Right? The Imam says this, وَمَنْ لَمْ يَكُمْ مَعَنَا كَانَ عَلَيْنَا. Those who aren't with us are against us. Brothers and sisters, can I tell you a little bit? It's a little scary, but it's okay. It's the birthday of Imam, it's scary, but it's okay. There's a little bit of Islamic karma that happens. Those people who don't stand up to zalimeen, God unleashes the zalim on the person. Hadith. The Prophet says this, Man a'ana zaliman. So the person who helps the zalim, because Imam Ali said, the person who's silent, who won't speak up, who won't connect the dots, that person is helping the zalim. They're not with the Imam. Whoever helps the zalim, the Prophet says, Man a'ana zaliman, sallatahu Allah alayh. God unleashes the zalim on the person. So it doesn't make sense. And I want to give because later on with the Clarification Jihad, you'll be giving examples of this. So I'm going to give 3 quick examples and we'll move on to the next topic. The concept is, if I don't stand up for the truth, it's worse. Example. If brothers and sisters remember, and if I could get just a little bit of water, then I would be so grateful. Salawat, please. If you remember the Battle of Uhud, do you remember in the Battle of Uhud when the Muslims could have resisted? And then the Muslims thought, let's run for the hills and save our lives? And then they paid a price for doing that. They almost lost the Prophet of God. Hamza Sayyid al-Shuhada was lost. At the time when they should have, they didn't. Another example. Do you remember the 4,000 or 5,000 people who stood up after Imam Hussein? When the Imam called them, they surrendered. They didn't stand with the Imam. The Tawabin, 6 months later, they came to the defense of the cause of Imam Hussein. They were all slaughtered. Right? They were all slaughtered. If Imam Hussein had 4,000 people, what would have happened? He had 72. I don't know how many of you guys saw the movie about Mukhtar. Do you guys remember it? In the end of the movie of Mukhtar, when they talk about his shahada, Mukhtar, I had to look this up in history because it was so unbelievable. Mukhtar is surrounded by Mus'ab ibn Zubayr. Mus'ab ibn Zubayr tells the people who are with Mukhtar, if you surrender, there's amnesty. Right? If you surrender, there's amnesty. Mukhtar went out with like a few followers. He fought. He became shaheed. Don't you know they slaughtered 7,000 people like chickens? So this idea that it's smarter, no. The intelligent knows that there's a price for resistance, but the price for surrender is much worse, so the intelligent resist. Okay, ayat of Quran, brothers and sisters, and we'll move on to our last lesson. So this one, let's see if I got this one right. It's Surah Hajj. So it's Surah number 22. I'm going to drink a drink of the water. Surah 22 and verse number 40. Remember, our lesson is that the intelligent resist. When they identify what the truth is, they resist, okay? Let's look at this verse of Quran, see if I got it right. Do you guys have this? So this should be Surah 22 and verse number 40. Let's see if I got it right. وَلَيَنْصُرَنَّ اللَّهِ. Do you have that? Yes? Do you guys, the sisters, anybody find that? Okay. So let's look at the Arabic. This one, God is saying with emphasis, definitely, truly, surely. He says, definitely Allah will assist man yansuruh. If you do your part, God will stand with you. He will help you. He will provide. You resist, God makes it easy. And then he continues, Inna Allah, truly Allah, laqawiyyun. God is all powerful. He's qawi, he's powerful. Aziz, and God is invincible. Now, number 2, the prophetic approach to the clarification jihad. Because you see, brothers and sisters, you and I, we've been given marching orders by the wali of the time to engage in the clarification jihad. Not just that we know what the truth is, we talk to other people, we engage, we have conversations. Those who passed the test of Muslim succeeded with Imam Hussein. When Imam Hussein sent Muslim, the representative, those who passed the test of Muslim succeeded with Imam Hussein. These are marching orders. What's the prophetic approach to misguidance of others? Do I care? Am I indifferent? Does it even matter? The prophetic approach. We're going to look at another verse of the Quran. So this one, brothers and sisters, if you guys can turn to, let's see if I got this one right. Surah 18. Remember the question. The prophetic approach to the misguidance of others, the clarification jihad. Surah 18, so it should be Surah Kaf, and it should be verse number 6. Let's see if I got this verse right. فَلَعَلَّكَ. Do you guys have that? Yes? Any of the sisters, do you have that? Yes? Okay. So let's read the verse together. It's talking about the prophetic approach to the clarification jihad. How does the Prophet feel about other people being misguided? The Prophet says this. So God says this about the Prophet. فَلَعَلَّكَ. Maybe you, بَاخِئٌ نَفْسَكَ. Maybe you will destroy yourself. Who? Rasulullah will destroy himself. How? عَلَى آثَارِهِمْ. Following up, trying to guide, trying to speak, trying to explain. He says, إِن لَمْ يُؤْمِنُوا بِهَذَا الْحَدِيثِ أَسَفًا. If they don't believe in this discourse, if they don't believe in the Quran, if they haven't accepted the truth, maybe the Prophet, out of asafal, out of grief, the Prophet would perish. Okay. Example, because you and I primarily right now we're working with mu'mineen and mu'minat, we're talking, but we're not indifferent to the misguidance of others. Example. This example, I'm going to talk about Amirul Mu'mineen, the best student of the Prophet. How was he? With his enemies. Example, Amirul Mu'mineen, before the battle of Jamal, so the battle of the camel, the enemies are there. Amirul Mu'mineen is engaging in the clarification jihad with who? With the enemies. Amirul Mu'mineen came out riding on a mule, the Prophet's mule. He came in front, and Amirul Mu'mineen has no body armor on, no weapons, riding on the Prophet's mule. So he comes out and he calls Zubair by name. Zubair. Zubair is going to come out. Zubair comes out fully armed, armed to the teeth, the works. He says, Zubair. They hug one another. Clarification jihad, even with the enemies. They hug one another. Amirul Mu'mineen says, Zubair, why are you here? Why are you bringing this huge army? Zubair says, to get revenge for Uthman. To get revenge for Uthman. Amirul Mu'mineen says, Zubair, I want to remind you about something. Do you remember when the Prophet was riding his mule? The same mule. When the Prophet was riding this mule, and you were standing there, you were in the same area as the Prophet, and you saw me, and I smiled at the Prophet, and the Prophet smiled at me, and then you said, Ali is so full of himself. He's always just, won't stop praising himself, right? Smiling at the Prophet. And the Prophet asked you a question. The Prophet said, do you love Ali? And you said, Wallah, I love Ali. The Prophet said, Zubair, a time will come, you're going to go to war with Ali, and you're going to absolutely be wrong. So Zubair, he thought for a second. He said, Astaghfirullah. He said, if I had had Zubair with an army, if I had had that thought in my mind, I wouldn't have come here with this army. Ali said, go back. He said, but how can I go back? How can I live down the shame? Me in the army, now we're going to rock and roll, and now I leave? He said, Zubair, it's better that you leave with shame now than leaving with the shame of Yawm al-Qiyamah and going to hell. Zubair left. So, brothers and sisters, we're out of time. We're not going to talk about deconstructing that biggest misconception, but we'll end, inshallah, with salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Inshallah, we're gonna start getting prepared for Salah. We might just need a couple hands from the brothers to, move some of the dividers and some of the chairs out of the way so that there's enough space to pray. Just a very quick request, or a reminder to the parents, if there are any children that needed to go downstairs during the course of the lecture, we do ask the parents to either go down there and make sure that you're with the kids and they're not left unattended, or to bring the kids back up here. But in either case, inshallah, we just ask that nobody leave their kids alone anywhere in the facility unattended, inshallah. With that, brothers and sisters who need to make wudu can go ahead and do that, and then adhan will come in a few minutes. We'll pray together, inshallah, and then we'll all head downstairs for dinner. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Brothers and sisters, we're going to start setting up for Salat right now, so I would like to ask the brothers to come up front to this area so we can line up for Salat and the sisters to line up behind them. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على محمد الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن عليًا ولي الله أشهد أن عليًا وفاطمة وأبناءهما حجج الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله وسلم
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا